Thank you all for coming out this morning. And we're going to talk about what we need to do to cut the federal budget. The explosive growth in federal spending threatens our country's future and much of what makes America special. If we do not stop it soon, we run the risk of an economic crisis that could result in massive unemployment and out-of-control inflation. The trillion-dollar deficits that we've run year after year also threaten the ability of the federal government to maintain critical programs like Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. Despite this serious threat to our nation's future, the democratically controlled United States Senate has not even passed a budget in 3 years. We cannot continue to have a Congress that recklessly and irresponsibly fails to adopt a budget, wastes hard-earned tax dollars on federal boondoggles, and creates an ever-increasing debt for our children and our grandchildren to pay. To cut wasteful spending and balance the federal budget, we need bold leadership. We need to send a proven budget cutter to Washington. I have that proven record. As Nebraska's state treasurer, I cut my budget by 13%. As Nebraska's Attorney General, I operated that office on the third smallest budget in the United States. The plan I am proposing today will put in place spending restraints, eliminate special privileges for members of Congress and federal employees, eliminate failed departments and programs, reduce the cost of federal operations, and preserve Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid for future generations. First, structural changes, a balanced budget amendment. Because the politicians in Washington have proven themselves incapable of restraining federal spending, I support a balanced budget amendment to the Constitution of the United States that will require a balanced federal budget, a 2/3 majority to increase taxes, and limit federal spending to 18% of gross domestic product. Congressional earmarks have been called a gateway drug to spending addiction, and they surely are. For example, the Cornhusker kickback was used to buy a vote for Obamacare. In addition to the outright waste of tens of thousands of earmarks passed in the last decade, leaders of both political parties have used these smaller, wasteful projects to jam through much larger expansions of government. I support legislation to permanently ban federal earmarks. Sunset all federal programs except earned entitlements like Social Security, Medicare, and veterans benefits. Every 10 years, unless Congress specifically restores them. Eliminate special privileges for members of Congress and federal employees. Federal pensions. I would replace federal pensions for members of the U.S. House, the Senate, and all federal employees with 401ks for all new hires. The private sector has moved away from traditional pensions and toward defined contribution plans. The federal government should follow suit. I cut the state treasurer's budget by 13%. I am confident there is more fat in the congressional budget than I found in the state treasurer's office. Freeze federal non-defense pay. I would freeze federal non-defense pay, including pay for members of Congress, until pay levels in the private sector catch up with federal pay levels. Eliminate failed departments and programs. I would repeal Obamacare. Obamacare is an expensive new entitlement and will ultimately lead to poor quality medical care in the United States. It must be repealed. Eliminate the Department of Education. The Department of Education has failed in its mission to improve K-12 education in the United States. The federal government should not dictate education policy to our local school districts. The Department of Education should be eliminated and control of K-12 education returned to our states and local school districts. Eliminate the Department of Energy. The Department of Energy has failed in its mission to reduce our reliance on foreign oil, and we have not built a new oil refinery in the United States since the mid-1970s. The department has scandalously wasted hundreds of millions of dollars of the taxpayers' money on failed projects such as Solyndra and other projects headed by friends of the President. I would preserve the nuclear regulatory functions of the Department of Energy, reduce federal barriers to domestic energy development by private companies, and eliminate the Department of Energy. I would eliminate the Import-Export Bank, which is corporate welfare. I would eliminate all Justice Department grants except those for the Bureau of Justice Statistics and the National Institute of Justice, thereby empowering the states to finance their own justice programs. I would reduce federal operating costs in a number of ways. I would reduce the size of the federal vehicle fleet, saving $600 million, and I would add that as the director of the Department of Administrative Services, back in 1982, I substantially reduced the size of the state car fleet, saving Nebraska taxpayers about $700,000. I would substantially cut the travel budget for federal employees. I would sell unused government property. I would privatize Amtrak and eliminate Amtrak subsidies. I would repeal Davis-Bacon, which increased the costs of federal projects. I would cut the White House budget by 15% as recommended by the President's National Commission on Fiscal Responsibility and Reform. I would require federal employees to fly coach on domestic flights. Preserve and improve Social Security for future generations. I will oppose any reduction in current Social Security benefits for anyone who is currently 55 years or older. For the future, we need to gradually raise the retirement age and select an index that better reflects actual costs to retirees. Younger persons should be given the option of having a portion of their Social Security taxes placed in a personal retirement account similar to a 401k. Preserve and improve Medicare for future generations. There would be no change in Medicare programs for anyone 55 years old or older. For the future, the age for qualification would gradually rise. Everyone would have the option of choosing regular Medicare or, in the alternative, a premium support option in which the government would set aside an amount of money to purchase private insurance. This is essentially how the current federal employees insurance program works. Low-income seniors and those with more serious health problems would get a larger payment than wealthier beneficiaries. Medicaid. Medicaid is a program to provide medical care for economically disadvantaged persons. It is funded more or less equally by the state and federal governments. However, the states are forced to operate that program under thousands of pages of federal regulations. The time has come to block grant federal Medicaid money to the states without any strings attached other than a requirement that the funds be used to provide medical care for disadvantaged citizens. States would be free to run a program similar to Medicaid in its current form, to go to a premium support system, or to innovate in other ways. These proposals are not a complete plan to balance the federal budget. Additional budget cutting will be needed. But this plan reflects the types of policies I will support to dramatically cut federal spending and balance the federal budget. To effectively cut federal spending, we need a United States Senator with a proven record of fiscal responsibility. I have that record. John Bruning, on the other hand, has increased his Attorney General's office budget faster than the rate of increase in the federal budget during his 9 years in office. To cut the federal budget, we need a United States Senator who is a doer, not a talker. Thank you.